The information provided on this show does not, and is not intended to, constitute legal advice. Instead, all information on this show is for general informational purposes only. The information provided is not a substitute for legal advice, and we recommend viewers consult an attorney for specific legal matters.
Condo Craze and HOAs here on our YouTube channel. I'm Karen Curtis, and I am, of course, with attorney Eric Glazer.
Good morning.
The man. He is board certified in community association law, and we're, of course, have our YouTube channel here all fired up, and we're back at 11 a.m. on Sundays, which we love, and it's all made possible by our fantastic sponsors who truly offer you the best services in South Florida, including our diamond sponsor, Best Roofing. And you are board certified by the Florida Bar in plan development law.
Since 2018.
2018. Right. There's only a handful of attorneys that are. And you have Glazer and Sachs Law Firm here in Fort Lauderdale and Orlando, actually in Hollywood. And each week we answer your calls and emails about everything that makes life in your condominium or HOA absolutely crazy from one minute to the next. So you can give us a call here. It is toll free, 717-GLAZER-8 with a Z. That's 717-452-9378. And of course, you can visit us in the chat box too of our YouTube channel.
And don't forget to subscribe to two things, like you say, the Condo Craze channel on YouTube. By doing so, you can watch all of our past shows whenever you would like. We really have a great library. Thanks to you, Robert. Really appreciate it. Genius over there, believe me.
He is a genius.
And of course, join our email list at condocrazeandhoas.com. By joining our email list, you can get announcements about the show, our seminars. The schedule is out, and people are already registering.
Mostly February.
Yes, right. But guess what? February is just about here.
I know.
So we're going to be teaching all over the state in like 4 weeks. I take my annual Super Bowl trip. I come back at night, like 11 o'clock at night. Next morning, I'm teaching in West Palm Beach.
You're crazy. So who's in the Super Bowl? Who do you think?
My Detroit Lions.
Your Detroit
Your
Lions?
Detroit Lions,
I'm from Detroit. You want the
I
Lions?
need them. I had a bet on them early in the season. Yeah, so it's a good financial investment.
I just love all of their crazy plays, the hook and ladder, the stumble bum.
I'm rooting for Detroit. That I can tell
Detroit,
you.
I love it.
And we're all over the internet. It's social media, Karen, right?
Facebook, TikTok, Apple, Spotify, Twitter, or actually, what is it? X.
Yeah. X, now it's and we do a blog every single Monday morning at hoa-condoblog.com. Tomorrow's topic, 2025, the beginning of massive changes to our condo communities. And of course, where do you start this week? You have to start with the horrific, sad, frightening, disappointing, I think we have to use the word disappointing week it's been in Los Angeles. Disappointing because
it's going to continue.
Yeah.
Till at least Wednesday, they said.
Yeah, because of the Santa Ana winds are about to pick up too. And is it Santa Ana winds?
Yes.
Yeah, Santa Ana winds. And it's tragic when you see the administration in Los Angeles and what they've done or not done. But maybe that's for another show. But you really can't describe the fire damage, the loss of life, the property damage. We were talking before the show started about it's amazing that it seems like nothing in the state at this point was built with non-flammable materials.
They just passed regulations that new homes have to be built with that, but it wasn't retroactive. So you'll see every once in a while an odd home standing. Those are the new builds.
But this is not the first time that
they've had a fire.
There's been a fire in Los Angeles. And were there any changes to the fire code at this point? You know, we had a terrible hurricane in 1992, Hurricane Andrew, and because of that, the entire Florida building code was completely redone, and our houses are so much safer than they were before. And has California ever done any of that?
Well, I see a parallel here for those who believe that after Surfside, the new legislation is knee-jerk.
Yes. No, it was not.
No, because look at this.
Yeah. You don't
Florida
know what
is
to
so far
say.
ahead in safety.
Absolutely, when it comes to what we have done since Andrew, incredible.
Or since the collapse of a
you can't even
building.
change since a change, right? Exactly, which we're going to talk about today.
And, and people are like, oh, well, we need to extend it to a high rise to be 6 stories tall. The more you twiddle around with it, the more, the more
No
safety.
problem in making things safer, but it just seems like, has that happened at all in California?
Doesn't seem like it.
You have to change a window here in your home. You have to go through permits. You got to make sure it's hurricane resistant. I mean, does any of that exist in LA?
It does on new builds.
On just new builds. Well,
That's it.
tough to watch. That's all I can say. And, over the last several years, we've spoken about fire safety laws here in the state of Florida for our condominiums. And Florida has legislation on the books for high-rise condominiums for years. And it requires the installation of fire sprinklers or an engineered life safety system. But over the years, we've spoken about it so many times.
It's expensive.
Yeah, doing this show, though, for so many years, right?
Well, you wrote legislation that was on
And then
Governor Scott's desk.
And then it got vetoed because it was tied to one of these fire bills. But every time this bill required installation of a fire sprinkler system or an engineered life safety system, every time we got close to the deadline, what did the legislature do? Extend it and extend it and extend it. And what was the reason? Because condos couldn't afford it.
Yeah, the London high-rise, Scott. Remember the whole building?
Yeah.
The outside of it didn't have fire retardant material.
Right, exactly. It was
whole building, and people
it was
inside.
flammable material. And the bill to extend it one more time was on Governor Scott's desk.
Right.
And we saw the fire in London. He vetoed it right away.
Yeah.
So here we are in Florida, and guess what? The time has come where there's going to be no more further extensions, okay, when it comes to fire safety in our condominiums. And I think it's really important for those that are tuning in today from a high-rise condominium to know what in the world the law says. And here we go. When it comes to fire safety, an association must ensure compliance with the Florida Fire Prevention Code as to a residential condominium building that's a high-rise building. And what is a high-rise building? Under Florida law, 75 feet in height from the lowest point. So let's say you have one of those garages that go down a little bit.
Is that 3 stories?
No, that's about 6 stories.
So then, okay.
So you measure it. You measure that point from the lowest, and then you go up to 75 feet. And if it's at least 75 feet you're building, even from the top of a parapet wall, you're going to be required to comply with the fire safety requirements.
So why is the definition of a high-rise for fire safety different from a definition of a high-rise for the SERS?
It's not a definition of a high-rise building under SERS. They just make it 3 stories.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not defined as a high-rise building. High-rise building only applies to the fire safety code.
Okay.
So.
And everybody knows that, we need these fire sprinklers. Can you have both? Can you have the fire sprinklers and the safety thing?
I guess you can, but you normally don't have to. But the
what is an engineered life safety
right,
system? Is it like lights and bells and
exactly.
whistles?
It's kind of like a point system. It could be a combination of a lot of things. So you don't want to install sprinklers. Okay, no problem, but you're going to have to install this engineered life safety system. And again, like I said, it's a combination of things. If you can show your local building official that you put in, some sprinklers in some places, smoke detection monitors all over the place, alarms all over the place, you might build up enough points so that you can show the fire marshal, okay, we don't have sprinklers, but we designed this engineered life safety system that gets us out of the responsibility of putting in fire sprinklers instead.
Yeah, we have that at my condo. They come every year and they test the whole thing.
Sure, exactly.
Yeah,
we have it here in the building we're sitting in tomorrow. It could be fire doors, but again, it's a point system that your local fire marshal looks at.
And how come some associations previously voted to waive the fire sprinkler requirement? I mean, are they off the hook now?
They're not off the hook, right? So over the years, you were allowed over time to always have your condo waive the requirement. It was amazing. Waive the requirement for fire sprinklers. So you had a situation where, just like associations waive reserves for years and years and years, well, guess what else people were doing in their condos? They were waiving the requirement to install fire sprinklers. So then the legislature said, okay, we're not going to let you do that anymore. So even if you waived fire sprinklers in the past, doesn't mean a damn thing. Now you still have to put in either fire sprinklers or an engineered life safety
Which
system.
is cheaper?
It's funny, it's a great question because fire sprinklers could obviously be 6, 7 figures.
Yeah, you have
And
to
then-
have run lines. And you have
Yes.
to have, oh,
And guess what, though? A lot of associations have found out that doing an engineered life safety system can be just as much.
oh.
So let's say you're starting with nothing. You really don't have any fire safety
What
stuff.
works
and you
better?
Don't know. That I don't know. That's
mean-
up to your local fire marshal. They're going to decide. He or she is going to decide what works best.
I mean, the sprinklers, I mean, when they go off, that everything in your house is wet.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
but you're
but
alive.
the fire's out.
Yeah, exactly.
But with
you're
the
alive.
other thing is you just get out of the house.
With the engineered life
Yeah.
safety system, you're going to hear alarms.
Yeah.
You're going to
And
have
then the fire
fire-rated
department-
doors,
yeah.
and then hopefully the fire department will be there to save you. Think about this: how many of our communities are 55 and over communities?
Lots.
How long does it take people to get out of a burning building?
Long time.
Don't you think?
That should be taken into consideration.
Of course, don't you think this is a place where you need this? And think about it, Rob, we were talking about just before you went on the air where you live, people were waiving reserves for decades. And people do the same thing with fire sprinklers. They were waiving it for decades. So they were willing to put their actual lives in jeopardy. Think about that. All right, no, we don't need sprinklers. The building burns, I'll probably get out in time. So it's reserves, it's fire. It's like, do people have any concern at all for their own safety, or is it all about the damn dollars and cents?
2 people that died in the fire in California.
Yes.
One was a cystic fibrosis patient who was blind, and his dad was an amputee.
Terrible.
And they were right next to
So
each
they
other
couldn't
in
get
bed.
out.
They couldn't get out,
Well,
waiting
is
for
that-
fire
is that
rescue to
terrible?
come get them.
So
They burned right there.
So how many people in our condominiums can't walk,
Yeah.
can't move, right?
And the elevators, what happens when the system
Yeah, they
goes off?
basically get shut off.
It's
so
shut
now you
off,
have
so
to walk
now
down.
what's gonna happen?
Right. So don't you think it's a great law to require either, right?
I
Either
would put
sprinklers,
sprinklers
or an engineered life safety
At
system?
least for the upper
Some
floors,
form-
right?
It's for the whole building. It's for the whole building. So we got to talk about what the deadlines are, because these deadlines are here. They're here. Okay.
Well, so this on top of the series.
On
so
top
this is
of
like-
everything else for
What does Snoop
those.
Dogg say? This is peanut butter on jelly on
Yeah,
gold.
Yes, right. Okay. Well, yes, but buildings should have done this already. High-rise buildings should have done this already, right?
Yes.
Instead, there are many that kicked it down the can down the road again and again and again, and here we are. So let's talk about one deadline that already passed. The legislation says by January 1st, 2025, and obviously that passed, the association shall retain a Florida registered professional engineer
Okay.
if you want to develop an engineered life safety system, right, or a fire sprinkler system, and that has to be given to the fire marshal for review and approval. Okay, so you have to have the engineer by January 1st, 2025. By January 1st, 2026, a year from now, the association's fire sprinkler contractor shall have applied for and received a permit, and then you have to pass final inspection by January 1st, 2027. Okay, that's for this fire sprinkler requirement. Gotta maintain the person right now who has to design it. A year from now, you have to pull the permit. A year after that, you have to pass final inspection.
So the final inspection will be 2027.
Right,
So
correct. 2
what's-
years from now.
So this is the sprinkler system.
Correct.
Just ballpark, how much is it for like a 6-story building?
7 figures.
7 figures?
Right, and that's on top of, like you said,
The SEERS.
there's SEERS requirements, right? That's on top of mandatory inspections and mandatory repairs, right?
7
And it's on top of what else? The insane insurance numbers that we're talking about. And by the way, what is happening now in California?
It's gonna influence
and
us.
yes, the numbers that they're talking about in terms of how much insurance companies are going to have to pay out. If you don't think that's going to have an effect again,
There
but, plus never mind the hurricanes that we suffered again this year. So if you think insurance is bad now, hold on.
There are for-profit,
Of course,
companies.
absolutely.
So absolutely. And then FEMA, where are they getting their money? I mean, what the heck?
I don't know, but from what you hear, they haven't really been that good to the people still in North Carolina.
Right.
That's what you still keep hearing.
And so, again, gone. Everything's gone.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen to these people? Are going to take the money and run. No one's going to go back and rebuild Asheville or along,
Maybe.
or
Beautiful place, and that would be terrible
Palisades?
if that happened.
So, or someone rich will come in and just develop it, and that's it.
Correct.
So, what's the deadline to install the engineered life safety system?
Okay, so basically, if you want to go with the ELSS, it's pretty much the same deadline. By January 1st, 2025, which passed already, you needed to obtain a Florida registered professional engineer to conduct an evaluation of the building and design an ELSS system and give it to the fire marshal for review. That had to be done already.
Oops.
So if you didn't do it, you've already blown the deadline. A year from now, right, a permit has to be pulled for it, and a year from that, 2 years from now, your entire ELSS has to have passed final inspection. And believe me, it takes a long time to go through the ELSS process.
And either one, sprinkler or ELSS, you have to have already hired your engineer.
Correct, yes,
That
and be
deadline's
done
passed.
2 years from today.
So what's the consequence?
The fire marshal could shut your building down.
Oh, shoot.
No, this is no joke.
Oh, this is no joke.
This is no joke. This is the real deal.
Whoa.
Absolutely. This is no joke. So again, whether you not want a fire sprinkler system or an ELSS, the deadline already passed, at least to hire an engineer. And yeah, I can tell you this. You asked the question. I expect fire marshals to start enforcing this immediately.
So when they shut the building down, people have to move out?
Of course, we've seen it. We've seen it right after, of course, the collapse of in Surfside of the Champlain Towers.
That's right. They
What
shut
did we
buildings.
start seeing next week? The week
Yep.
after, all of a sudden,
Unsafe building.
building officials got off their butt, started looking at buildings, and all of a sudden, buildings needed to be shut down. But this is an expensive requirement. Like I said, add that to everything else, and it's always safety first. And with LA burning, when watching this every night on TV, there's no appetite to extend this deadline. It's not going to happen.
No,
period.
absolutely not.
But let's hear what our viewers have to say. Give us a call here in the studio, 717-GLAZER-8. Again, 717-GLAZER-8. That's 717-452-9378. Or drop us a question or comment in the chat box on YouTube. We will be back right after this.
There are very large management companies and there are very small management companies. And I think Affinity sits somewhere in the middle of that, where they are big enough to provide you with all of the back of the house services, the accounting, the infrastructure, the support systems, but small enough to be high touch.
We believe at Affinity that we do the 9 to 5 so that you don't have to do that.
Welcome back to Condo Craze and HOAs here on our YouTube channel. Karen Curtis with attorney Eric Glazer. He's the one that's board certified in community association law and the only one that can legally practice law on this show.
Exactly.
Right? I'm always telling people when they like corner me on the street, oh, but I'm like, well, I'm not, practicing law without a license here.
Give
But
Eric a call.
Give Eric a call.
Hey, you should only know how many emails I answered during the week.
Oh, really?
Free of charge.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Can't tell you how many people send questions in, and I'm honored to answer them.
Of course you are. And the number to call is 717-GLAZER-8. That's 717-452-9378. We're
Rob
there.
tells me the phones are overflowing, so let's go.
All right, let's go to the first caller. I think is Ellen from Miami.
Good morning, Ellen.
Good morning. It's Helen from Miami.
Oh, Helen. How are you, Helen?
I'm great. Thank you so much. And Eric, thank you for this public service.
Thank you
I've
so
taken
much.
your board certification course in Broward, and if listeners think that the show is informative, then your classes are imperative for anyone who's not only a board member, but I think a condo owner.
Thank
There's
you so much,
information
Helen.
to be known.
Appreciate that, and your check should arrive by Wednesday. I appreciate that. Okay, how can we help?
Terrific. Okay, so I'm calling with kind of a general question. So it ties into what we were talking about this morning. That is, regarding all the new laws and whatnot, I find that my condo association is trying to, let's say, escape accountability, to be on the record for what it's done. So what they've started to do now is that there are a couple of things here. Number one, the manager will not speak to a condo owner unless the meeting is recorded. Now, the question is, if you agree to that, would the unit owner be allowed to have a copy of that recording? Next, what they're doing is after meetings are held, they adjourn the meetings, and then they have a Q&A session.
Okay, let's
which
stop.
then
Let's
is
stop.
not
Hold on. Let's take it one at a time. So your manager
Okay.
won't talk to you unless it's at a meeting. Did I hear that right?
No, well, in a private meeting
Yes.
in her office,
Yes.
unless it's recorded.
Unless it's recorded. That's insane.
Yeah.
So you walk in, your
agree.
manager's there, you say hi, and you ask a question, and the manager says, I will not answer your question unless it's recorded.
Sounds like she got burned one time or another.
If a manager
more
did
than-
that,
The meetings are scheduled.
that enrages me so much that a manager won't answer a question.
That's not an open door policy.
That's something I would, and I hate to say this, I really do hate to say this, because managers know how much I back them and how much I enjoy working with them. But if a manager pulls that BS, yeah, I'm going after them. I'm going after them. I'm going after their license if they pull that, because that
have
is
to have an open
unbelievable.
door
They
and be
won't answer a
available.
question. They are mandating that conversations are recorded. Really, no. That's going too far with me. And I'm sorry. Your next point.
Well, again, around recording and whatnot, because meetings can be recorded. Now the board has meetings, but adjourns the meetings and then has a Q&A session.
Okay, let's stop
afterwards,
there.
which
Let's
does-
stop there. The law is clear, right? They have to take like a good and welfare section. The unit owners are allowed to ask questions and discuss and have access to the board. They're allowed to speak during the meeting, not after the meeting is over. So what you're required to do is, you can have a section, an agenda item that during the meeting while it's going on, the unit owners have a right to address the board. You cannot adjourn the meeting, close the meeting, and then say, okay, who wants to speak? The unit owners are allowed to address the board while the meeting is still going. Another violation by that board.
Now, here's what they have said about that. So there is the 3 minutes per agenda item that you can speak on, and then there's that new law about at the end of the meeting where it's kind of an open forum to ask whatever question you'd like, even though it might not be on the agenda. Are those two separate things? Because they're saying it's the same.
It's not two separate things. You absolutely cannot close a meeting. You cannot close the meeting and then allow owners to speak. You're allowed to talk during the meeting. Case closed. Okay?
Okay, one last example. What they're doing now also is, instead of meetings at all, they're having what they call sip and chats, where these are not considered board meetings, so there are no minutes, there's no recording, and those unit owners who can't be there in person basically don't know what's being discussed, even though there's often a quorum of board members there.
Yeah,
They're discussing
let's stop you
business.
there. Once there's a quorum of unit owners sitting with, of board members sitting and taking questions from the audience and discussing business, discussing the association matters, that's a meeting.
But they're drinking wine.
But oh, that's a totally different
It's a
stuff.
sip
The
and
wine
chat.
gets them sip and chat. Yeah, no such
Good meeting.
Yeah.
no such thing as a sip and chat. That's new.
Yeah.
I have to tell you,
a
sip and
sip
chat
and
is
chat.
new. Normally the word is workshops. That word I've been told that word forever. No such thing as a workshop.
It's a
no
euphemism
such
for a
thing
meeting.
as a sip and chat insanity. And quite frankly, they should be being told these things. And little upsetting that they don't know this. Okay, but hey,
But Helen does.
Helen does. Helen knows by attending the seminars.
If there are only 2 of 5 board members there and it's not a quorum, can they still do this?
Yeah, 2 of 5, I have no problem if
Sip
they
and
sit
chat
with other
away.
unit owners, correct. But once you have a quorum, it's over, it's a meeting. Thanks for the call, Helen. We got a million others. Who else we got?
All right, let's go to Tampa.
Tampa. And who in Tampa?
I think this is Mira.
Mira in Tampa.
Or Myra.
Myra?
Mira.
Yes. Marcia.
Marcia.
Hey,
Hi.
we'll get it right.
Marcia,
Don't worry
Marcia,
about it.
Marcia.
Marcia,
Okay,
Marcia,
yeah,
you're
yeah.
up.
Yeah, I go by Marcia. I don't know what you're saying, but anyway, thank you for taking my call.
Sure thing.
And here's our question. This is an HOA board. We have a new board. If the new board, the new HOA board, alleges that a prior board member committed a crime and they hire an attorney and the HOA pays for the new board's attorney, does the HOA also have to pay for the defense for the attorney for the prior board member?
That
because
depends.
it's a board issue.
Okay, so that depends, and that's probably, I can tell you this, there's probably in your bylaws, right, of the association, what's called an indemnification provision, right, for all board members and prior board members. So the answer is probably yes, but that board member that's accused of wrongdoing, if they get served with a complaint, for example, they're going to notify the association's insurance carrier, and the insurance carrier is probably going to have to hire somebody to defend that director. Okay, so the answer really is a yes. That
Unless it's
person
for
is going to
killing
be
one board
protected.
member or the other.
Can you defend yourself for doing? Can you get coverage for that? I don't know. Intentional acts.
It's a board.
But
It's
if,
a board
if
issue.
it's an intentional act of wrongdoing, what will happen is the insurance company will send that director what's called a reservation of rights letter, saying that, okay, we'll agree to defend you, right? But if it comes out that you acted willfully with the intent to cause harm to the association, sorry, there's not going to be coverage for that, and you're going to be on your own. But yes, for at least for at least defending that board member, yeah, the association's probably going to be on the hook to provide a defense to that board member. Okay, I hope that answers your question. Keep them coming, Rob.
I just want to say, when they call in, they say their name into the phone, and then it populates for you. That's why we're not sure on exactly what your name is. So if you can like enunciate.
Yeah, it sometimes it's hit or miss.
Yeah.
Even if you enunciate. So
Enunciate.
we're not
Okay,
trying to
going
make fun of-
forward.
No, we're not making fun of
Fun
you.
of
It's
your
just
name, yeah.
it's what you say into the phone is how it comes up.
So,
Okay,
right.
who's next?
Jamie from Palm Beach County.
That's an easy one, my daughter's name. How are you, Jamie?
Hi there. Hi, thanks for taking my call. How are
Sure.
you?
How are you? How can we help?
Good, thanks. My question is about the records request law for HOAs 720 3034. Are the applications, or when somebody submits their name under the candidate filing period to the board, are those records obtainable by unit owners?
Sure they are, absolutely. Those are records that
Okay.
relate to the operation of the association, right? So, no
Yes, and-
question. Yeah, so if those...
Can we
tho-
request the emails, like with the timestamps? Because there's a discrepancy whereby we had a candidate filing period, and the day after it closed, the board said they wanted more people to apply, and then made a completely new candidate filing period.
So basically where we're at with emails right now is if the emails are solely on the email addresses of the individual directors, maybe not. But if the manager of the community is included on that emails, or it's set up on an association account, then yes, those emails are obtainable.
Yeah, their association email.
There you go.
account.
Yes, and you can get them from the association email account, and yes, they are official records, and yes, you're entitled to get them. You're in an HOA. HOA law is a little different from condo law. Condo law says if you make a written request for records, they got to turn them over, give you access, I should say, within 10 business days. HOA, which you are in, you have to make the request certified mail, return receipt requested, and again, they got to give you access within 10 business days. Okay? So go get them, send out that letter. We got to take our bottom of the hour break. Keep the calls coming, 717-452-9378. Back right after this.
For mitigation after a catastrophic event, building restoration, repair and remediation consulting, or Senate Bill 4D inspections, please visit rimkus.com.
All over the world, people have plumbing problems. These problems can be expensive and destructive to fix. Have you ever wondered if there was a way to take care of your plumbing problems without destruction and an outrageous price tag? Welcome to Pipelining Technologies, Inc., where we specialize in fixing your problems without demolition and minimum cutting by means of pipelining. Pipelining is the ability to take a pipe damaged by root intrusion or long-term deterioration and make it new. By means of inserting an epoxy-saturated liner into the pipe and allowing it to harden or cure, leaving behind a brand new pipe.
That sounds great. How can I get pipelining in my home, commercial building, or condominium?
Simply fill out our online contact form and a pipelining representative will get in touch with you in a timely fashion, or call us directly at 561-853-5463.
Condo Craze and HOAs here on our YouTube channel. I'm Karen Curtis. It's the second half hour of the show. The phone lines are stacked. The chat's stacked. Go ahead and answer some questions.
All right,
in
so
the chat.
Arnold Feldman writes in, question, installing impact windows on a high-rise. Is the condo responsible for the cost of the frames and the unit owner pay for the windows? Is this correct? Now, sometimes you get a question here that there's no way to answer it unless you see what the governing documents say.
Right.
Right? You'd have to read the governing documents to determine who's responsible for what in that condominium. You know, there's no way to answer it. But you know, what happens when the condo does not have impact windows, right? And the condo wants to put in impact windows because you get a really big discount when all the windows in the condominium, despite from your insurance company, are impact windows.
I thought it was a law, though.
There is a law, and here's what the law says. If the condo is not responsible for the windows and the unit owners are, the condo can force the issue if you get a majority vote of the unit owners that vote for the installation of impact windows.
Despite what the docs say.
Despite what the docs say. Now, if the docs make the condo responsible for the windows, the condo doesn't even have to ask permission from the unit owners. The condo can just do it. But if they're not responsible, it's going to take a majority vote to force the issue.
Even though there's a law.
That is the law. That's what we're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, and a lot of people want it. Why? Because once we do it, once we get it out of the way, going forward, you're going to get a big discount from your insurance company going forward.
Well, it's so much smarter than drilling holes in the concrete along the ocean.
And it makes your building look so much nicer too. You know. Let's see. I can't pronounce it, but I guess Overjoyed. Overjoyed writes in, Florida is making our older condos unaffordable for retirees on fixed incomes. I see a tsunami of foreclosures and condo terminations on the horizons. I'll say this: I'm not going to say that I agree with that statement. 100%. Florida's making our older condos unaffordable for retirees, and I know I'm going to get a lot of backlash on this, and we spoke about this before we went on the show. You know who made it unaffordable for the older people and the retirees? The older people and the retirees. If they didn't put away money if they could have put away money every month over a 30-year period, we would not be where we are today. We wouldn't have to force the issue, right? Force reserves. And I say this all the time. The building that fell in Surfside, we can argue, Champlain Towers, we can argue forever about why the building fell.
Construction next door.
Structure, a million reasons. The pool deck, the garage, it fell because there was no money to fix it. That's why it fell, period, because there was no reserves. I urge the Florida legislature, please pass some form of mandatory reserves. Didn't do it, and it took the death of 98 victims. So here we have somebody complaining, you're making it unaffordable. No, I'm sorry. Who made it unaffordable now is the people that waived reserves for decades. I'm sorry, it's a little difficult for me to have any sympathy.
Because when the bill came due, it was
now it's
$12 million or
right,
something.
Correct, and they
for
didn't
them,
have the
and
money
they didn't
during
have
COVID
it.
to fix it. So I'm sorry, I understand it's tough, but if
It
you
is
would
what
have
it
put
is.
away money over decades, some money every month, instead you figured, no, I'm not going to be living in the unit anyway when we need a new roof. Well, guess what? You got unlucky, you lived. That's all I can say. Back to the phones.
Let's go to Kevin. I'm not sure where he's calling from. Can you let us know, Kevin?
Hey, this is Kevin in Valrico, Florida.
Oh, Valrico.
Hey, glad to have you.
Okay, thanks for taking my call, Eric. My question is related to HOA board elections. Here's the scenario, right? An HOA board consists of 5 directors, and there's an election, and 2 new board members are elected. However, the other 3 board members are in expired seats and did not register for that ballot. Question I have, how do these 3 seats get filled? There were 2 other candidates on that same ballot, so wouldn't they fill 2 of the seats?
Sure, that's
And
exactly
then the
what
new
it sounds
board
like.
decides who to occupy the 5th seat for the
Exactly.
next election?
I think you hit the nail right on the head, right? Those 3 are obviously gone because they didn't submit their name to run again, so they're gone. So it's the next 5 with the highest votes. If you're telling me only 4 around, those 4 are the board, and those 4 get to fill the 5th seat.
Okay, and that 5th seat would only be for until the next election, not a full term.
That's correct.
Because it wasn't really okay.
That's exactly right. Okay? Thanks for the
All right,
call.
thank you, Eric.
Hey, Eric, another Eric writes in. We know Eric Solenstein, and he makes a good point. When the work is completed, you're now having a new lifespan, and your SIRS mathematics will change. So yeah, if you didn't put away reserves, and now you're going to have to do this reserve study, and let's say it's time to do your roof in the next year or 2, yeah, that's going to be a hard hit in the beginning.
But yeah.
But let's say now you do your roof, right? Your roof is done.
Clock starts again.
Yes, but the mathematics now go way out. So your actual SIRS requirement is going to go way down. Your reserve amounts that you have to put away each month is going to go down.
Just rip the Band-Aid off, pay it now,
yes,
and then you'll be good.
It's going to be high up front, but once we get through this 3-4 year period, I'm assuming, and everybody starts really funding the reserves and making repairs, that amount should go way down because all your repairs are now well out into the future.
But these people were allowed to not fund the reserves, to waive the reserves.
That's
they were
correct.
allowed to.
They were allowed to
Who's
do
not going to want
it? You know what? Robert, I think, takes the position that even if I was allowed, I'd never do it. You have to put away money for a rainy day.
For sure.
But yeah, I guess the saying is you give people enough rope and they're going to hang themselves, right?
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. Back to the phones, Rob.
Okay, let's go to, this is Ruth from Palm Beach County.
How are you, Ruth?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thanks, Eric. You have a great show, and I've learned a lot.
Thank
great
you.
Public service. The reason I am calling is I live in an HOA, lived here 20 years since it was built, and this year in the 2025 budget, there was a sudden change in the HOA fee allocation. We have 3 neighborhoods, and one of the neighborhoods had a much larger HOA increase than the other 2 neighborhoods.
Okay.
And I asked before the budget, I saw this when the preliminary papers came out before the budget meeting, and I asked for a written explanation or any kind of explanation, and they said they wouldn't give it. They would give it in the board meeting. I attended the board meeting via Zoom, and the audio was so bad, and the explanation was so convoluted. Anyway, I asked, of course, the board approved the budget, and after the fact, I asked again for a written explanation because what was said, there were a few things in there that made no sense. And I received a pretty harsh response saying the explanation was given in the board meeting and no further explanation would be given.
Oh.
So, yeah, isn't that nice?
Mm-hmm.
So my issue is, obviously anybody who did not attend the board meeting has no idea. I've got owners who have asked me, and I said, I don't know. I don't understand it. I can't get an answer out of them. What can I ask for through a formal written request, certified mail, return receipt requested, in order to get an understanding of just how they went about coming up with these numbers?
The condo statute, the HOA statute basically says you're entitled to documents that are relative to the operation of the association. Okay, the operation of the association. And I can tell you that term has been defined by arbitrators to be very, very broad. If you can make the argument basically that, hey, that document certainly has to do with the operation of the association. The easy ones are bank records, right? Check registers, contracts that the association is involved in. Basically, you can make the argument that this document has to do with the operation of the association. That's what you are entitled to. Okay?
Now, from what I gathered from the board meeting, this has nothing to do with that. This has to do, and I didn't want to get too far into the weeds because my question really was, well, what can I ask for as opposed to determining whether what they did was fair or just or, justified. They said that, first of all, that a homeowner led this. Okay, a homeowner felt that HOA fees were unfairly assessed in the past. He led this whole charge. They had mentioned in the meeting that there was a meeting of the finance committee that made recommendations. There was meetings with the HOA attorney. I don't see, listen, finance committee, 720, aren't finance committee meetings when they make a recommendation of the board? Aren't they supposed to be open to and publicized?
Yes,
to all
they should.
homeowners?
Yep, they are.
Aren't.
Those meetings, have to be noticed. Unit owners have the right to attend. But Ruth, we got to wrap it up because we got to take our final break of the hour. Keep the calls coming, 717-452-9378. Back right after this.
In South Florida, the transition from bright sunshine to heavy rain and hurricanes can take a toll on your property's exterior and structural integrity. Cracked stucco, spalled concrete, they're more than eyesores. They can signal deeper issues. Now, with new Florida laws involving structural integrity requirements, we want to help you meet your milestone inspections and maintain the durability and beauty of your building. Since 2004, PD has been the trusted expert in structural concrete restoration, painting, and waterproofing for condominiums and commercial properties. Visit pd-concrete.com or call us today.
We are DMI Paving and Seal Coating, Florida's parking lot experts. We specialize in asphalt paving and repair, including pothole repair, seal coating using JC7 or polytar, concrete curbs, ramps, and walkways, and striping and pavement marking, as well as ADA compliance. We service commercial properties, including homeowners associations, apartment communities, shopping malls, warehouses, stadiums and arenas, and more. Experience is worth more than anything in an industry like ours, and our staff has decades of it. We have specialized equipment for any job, regardless of size, saving you time and money. DMI has a reputable history. We have been in business since 1956. We serve the state of Florida from 6 locations. Let us bid on your next parking lot project. Visit us online at dmipavingandsealcoating.com.
Welcome back to our final segment of Condo Craze and HOAs here on our YouTube channel. And I'm Karen Curtis with attorney Eric Glazer. We're going to back to your phone calls and questions in the chat box. But first, we want to tell you that Eric's going to be all over the state teaching what you need to know.
Really
and it's
quick.
Free.
As you know, now you have to get certified by taking an educational course. We're in the election season. If you don't do so within 90 days after getting on the board, you are off the board. You heard some really nice comments about the class
your
today.
class.
And it's, at least for condos, it's a 4-hour mandatory class. I teach the class. It's combined condo and HOA, so everybody come. You show the different comparisons between the two communities. I think you learn a lot more that way.
Yeah.
And everybody really enjoys it. We do it at the LNL Condo and HOA Expo. After the class, everybody gets lunch. So let's go through it really fast because we only have a few minutes left. We start off February 11th, LNL Condo and HOA Expo at the Palm Beach Convention Center. Everything starts, by the way, at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Sharp. February 13th, LNL Condo and HOA Expo Center in Tampa at the Convention Center.
February 18th, LNL Condo and HOA Expo at the Broward Convention Center.
April 3rd, LNL Condo and HOA Expo, Broward Convention Center.
April 16th, back in Tampa.
And then April 22nd, you're going to be at the back in Palm Beach County. You don't have Miami-Dade.
Yes.
Because a lot of people don't show up, but I'm wondering if they want it in Spanish in Miami-Dade.
I've been asked that.
Yeah.
But, my attitude with that is the laws are written in English. Your documents are written in English. I'm teaching the class in English. That's me. By the way, not to go off on this tangent, but do you know that Floridians voted years ago to make English the official language of the state of Florida? It's in our Constitution. So I'm teaching it in English.
But more than half the people that live in Miami-Dade were not born in this country.
I'm teaching it in English. It's really that simple. So come out. There's a lot to learn. I won't go through all the categories this
and then
time.
you're in Orange County on May 15th.
Right.
14th.
We end up right in Orlando. Exactly.
But I have a question. If you're
Yes.
teaching a 4-hour course on condos, which is required, and
Condos
you're
and
also
HOAs.
teaching HOAs,
Yes.
doesn't it have to be longer than the 4 hours? Because it's supposed to be 4 hours for
And
condo.
it is longer than the 4 hours when all's said and done. That I can promise you. Okay. I taught the class on Zoom a couple of weeks ago, and I went without stopping to take any questions and just talking 3 hours and 51 minutes.
Oh.
And that's without taking a question.
Oy.
So does it go past 4 hours when we start taking questions? Oh, it
Now,
does.
the DBPR, their course, is it just condo?
No, also same type of
Oh,
thing.
same
Yes.
thing. Okay.
Right, exactly.
All right.
And what I don't like about it is you hear that you can
Walk
start
away.
it up on your computer and walk away. So I think it does everybody a disservice
It does.
when you teach it by Zoom. I'm
What's
not doing
this
it
easy
anymore.
way out stuff?
It's silly and
Non-productive.
This is serious stuff that you're teaching now, especially for condos. So there's going to be no more teaching it on by way of Zoom. I
Well,
think
you
it's
have not
ridiculous.
only board members, you have residents that take this.
Absolutely.
You have,
Yep.
I mean, everybody takes it, and more than one time.
Exactly. Hey, Tammy writes in, so legal invoices not pertaining to litigation, can they be viewed? So a lot of times people want to see the attorney's bills that they send to the condo. So when that happens, the client will let me know, and I'll go through all of the bills that I've
Make
sent to
sure.
the client, and any privileged communication, anything on the bill that might be considered privileged, just dark it out, right? Redact it, it's called.
Uh-huh.
And the unit owners can see all of it,
Okay.
even if it's litigation and that's going on at the moment. And the statute does say once the litigation is concluded,
They see everything.
They can see everything.
You have a question in the chat box that can you turn your condo into an HOA to avoid a percentage of these new laws and whatever? And you're saying it's feasible, but it would take, you'd have to like move
It's
heaven
like
and earth.
asking me, can I turn my Chevy into a Lamborghini?
Hey, it's
you know,
possible.
It's really, really difficult to do. You'd have to.
So look at
get-
this again, just kind of like shirking the responsibility. Let's try to get around
Right,
it.
get around
instead
the
of thinking of it.
requirements by turning us into an HOA. And you'd have to get every single member to agree and all of their mortgage companies to
Oh,
agree.
and the mortgage
And the mortgage companies. So it would be
companies.
next to impossible. Back to the phones, Rob, really quick.
Let's go to Jose from Vero Beach.
Jose, how are you?
How you doing?
How you doing?
Hello.
How can we help?
I'm a first-time caller.
Oh.
Glad to have you, buddy.
Yeah, and I'm from Farico, Florida. My question is, can HOA members continue to reconvene an annual meeting until a community reaches quorum?
Yes, the board can reconvene an annual meeting. They can try, but it, again, it doesn't mean that they're ever going to get it. But yeah, they can try, and there's something that's honorable in that. If they want to make sure that we have an election and everybody gets a chance to vote, I see that as a good thing, quite frankly. Why? Because what you hear of most of the time is the opposite complaint. We never get a quorum, and the same board just rolls over forever and always. So here you have a board that's saying, look, we acknowledge that that happens, but we're going to try to make sure that the unit owners get a chance to vote in this. Let's keep trying to get a quorum. I think that's an honorable thing to do. Next call, Rob.
Next caller looks like Joe from Coconut Creek.
How are you, Joe?
Good morning, Eric. Long-time listener here, and thanks for so much of the help that you give the people.
Thank you so much.
I live in a single condo building, 49 units, Coconut Creek. I have a question on new rules that the board wants to pass.
Yes.
The board is proposing 2 items on the next agenda of our condo meeting pertaining to the parking lot. And I have 2 questions for you. Item number 1, and this is how it's written. Going forward, all new owners must have 1 car. We can currently have more than 1 car, and we can have a pickup truck. Since this says cars, does this mean that small trucks will not be allowed in the future because it doesn't say vehicles?
I don't know what it means, quite frankly, but the first problem is, why are some people going to be allowed to have 2 cars and others are only going to be allowed to have 1 car? I don't know if that's a reasonable rule, number one. Basically, everybody has to be treated equally in a condo, except for situations where people get 2 spots because they paid for a separate spot. They bought another one from the developer. I don't know if in your... Yeah, hold on. I don't know if in your condominium, all of these spots are common element spots. And if they are common element spots, I can't see where you have a rule where some people get 2 and some people only get 1. Maybe it would make sense if people who live in a 2-bedroom get 1, and people who live in get 2, and people who live in a 1-bedroom get 1. That might be considered a reasonable rule. But I don't understand, the logic that went into.
If I live in a 2-bedroom and I get 2, can I rent my 1 out if I don't have?
Again, and probably not. But these parking situations are
there's guest parking spaces.
There's so much litigation over it that in order to answer this question correctly, I'd have to know so much more as to why the rule was actually made. Because the rule can't be arbitrary, the rule can't be capricious. Go ahead.
The reason for this is that the owners who live here are grandfathered, and any new owners can only have 1 car. That's simply what they're intended.
And does that pass when you sell your unit?
But we're running out of time, and actually, the bigger question is number 2. And number 2, the way it's written on the agenda is all unit owners with 2 vehicles must park one of their vehicles in their owner spot.
Okay.
Not allowing for the use of 2 guest spots. Now, there's a little drama why people do this, but the main intention of this question is that since these are both new rules and regulations, do the existing owners get grandfathered into this, and do they only pertain to new unit
Yeah,
owners.
generally
That's
speaking,
the
yeah,
main-
yes, there are certain types of rules that, yes, people are grandfathered into, and yeah, parking is probably one of them, right? What you can do with your parking space. I agree, you're probably grandfathered in. But the rule that says if you get 2 spots, one of your cars have to be parked in one of your own spots, and you can't put 2 in guest parking.
Right.
What's wrong with that rule? That's a rule that perfectly makes sense completely.
And why would you do that?
Right. Why would you, if you
To
have
put
a
a
spot,
third one in your space?
right, to put a third one exactly in your space?
Well, I can tell you why people are doing it here, because we're not getting the proper amount of tree trimming, and the birds are collecting in these trees, and they're defecating all over the cars.
Oh, that's a
So
whole
since
other thing.
There's
So,
no rule that there's no rule in the parking regulations that say that everybody must park in their owner spot and not a guest spot.
well,
So
hold on.
this is being headlined as a new rule on the agenda. It says new rule, which is telling us that it's not existing. So we're feeling that we should be grandfathered into this.
Well, again, yeah, there might, if you have, let's say, if you were always allowed 3 cars and all of a sudden they're telling you that, nope, sorry, now there's a new rule, yeah, you might absolutely have an argument that you're grandfathered in. It's very possible. It's like
But
when
this
you
sounds
have
like
a dog, right?
Yeah.
And they say no more dogs. They can't kick your current dog out, right? Same thing. That dog is grandfathered
Right,
in.
right,
So
right.
you may absolutely have a claim there that you are in fact grandfathered in.
She's
Joe,
right.
we got to keep the calls
So-
coming. Okay. Thanks
But
for the
this
call,
whole
Joe.
bird poop thing
I've
is like
always learned
dictating
from
the whole
you,
thing.
Eric.
Thank
That's the
you,
last thing. I've always learned for you that if you don't vote on a rule, it doesn't apply to you. Isn't that the general logic?
No, absolutely not, because you don't vote on rules. The board makes rules, not you. Back to the phones.
All right, let's go to Jenny from North
I think he's
Miami.
talking about renters.
I don't know what he's talking about, but
when you can vote on whether or not
that's the only
Right.
that's the only
Yeah,
thing. Yeah, that's
yeah.
the only one.
I
Correct.
think that he's getting mixed
Right.
up with that.
Who else we
This
got,
is
Ralph?
Pippi, by the way. She's grandfathered in.
Okay, we have Jenny from North Miami.
Jenny, how are
Hi,
you?
y'all. Thank you. Hi, how are you? Good morning.
Good
Thanks
morning.
for everything you do, Eric and Karen.
Thank you so much. How can we help?
Okay, DBPR revokes a CAM and a CAM firm's license in September of 2024. The guy goes and gets an appeal, wins the appeal in October 14th. Could he have practiced between September 9th when he got revoked?
I don't know
And,
the rules on that. Perhaps while the appeal is pending, he is allowed. I don't know. I honestly don't know the answer. No clue. I guess he was practicing,
Okay.
and you're pretty pissed off that he was, but I don't know what the rules say. Pending an appeal, he might be allowed to practice. My hunch would tell me no, but until you win the appeal. But again, I can't say for sure because that's not something I really know much about. What an admission for an attorney to say, I don't know much
mark
about
the calendar on that
Right.
one.
Let's take a call. Let's go out on a call that we can help somebody
Okay.
with.
Okay, let's go to Dave from Miami-Dade.
How are you, Dave?
I'm doing. Thank you very much for taking my call.
Sure thing.
My question is, we had a 7-member board. 4 people did decide not to run. We got another 4 to go in. Therefore, there's no election. Okay, that's I believe in the 718. But one of the members has sued the association for almost $200,000.
Right.
What should we do?
So in other words, I get
With
this
this
all the time too.
person.
Someone is suing the board. Can they still run for the board? Someone's suing the association. Can they still run? The answer is absolutely, unequivocally, yes. Okay. Very few reasons why you can't run for the board. Are you delinquent on your assessments? Money's owed to the association.
Are you a felon?
Are you a felon? Correct. Other than that, there's really very few reasons why you could be prevented from running for the board. I mean,
You
just
can
think
even
about
not
it.
even live there and
Right.
run for it.
Exactly.
You could be in jail.
Right. Right.
And
If
run.
you're on misdemeanor charges,
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
can certainly run. That's for sure.
Or
Yeah,
you're
but-
awaiting trial.
Yeah, but certainly there's absolutely no reason why someone who's suing the association can't run for the board. Happens all the time. And suppose the person running for the board, well, suing the association absolutely has a valid case and means well for the benefit of the association. Should the bad board members be able to say, no, we're not accepting
No,
your right
but
to run?
if that board member, if that person loses the case and then owes money, attorney's
That's a
fees,
great, and that happened. That's
I
a
know.
great. It's
We're getting
great
a lot
thing.
of calls from Valrico, and that's where that case happened.
Right. If you owe money to the association for any reason
That's right,
whatsoever,
not just
you might
fines.
not be able to run for the board. That's exactly right. Okay? All right. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for really keeping us on our toes today. It's been an honor to answer all of your questions. If you need help off the air, legal help off the air, give Glazer and Sachs a call, 954-983-1112. Again, 954-983-1112. Those of you who are watching the football games today,
Oh, yeah.
hope you enjoy it. Have a
Bucks.
great time, and we'll see you again next Sunday at 11 a.m. on Condo Craze and HOAs. Everybody have a wonderful, safe week.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Robert. Thanks, Pippi.